Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Within Modern Warfare 3 this year, obviously in general with multiplayer, we do have that slightly slower TTK because of the increased health. However, there are still a few select weapons in this game that absolutely fry, and today we are looking at a handful of the best, the top 5 fastest killing weapons we currently have in the game according to all the raw stats from True Game Data. So as we get into the details and the setups here, if you enjoy the video, if you find it helpful at all, do me a favor and drop a like on it. It always does help grow the channel. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee that every single day you are up to date with the latest news, updates, meta breakdowns, and really everything going on between MW3 and Warzone. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. So we're starting here first with, surprisingly, the Chimera. And like I just said, all this information, all the data and time to kill stats here are via True Game Data with his combination shot TTK tool that gives you extremely precise values. So huge shout out to Tony for putting in the work. His channel will obviously be linked down in the description below. But the Chimera, surprisingly good for the close to mid range in multiplayer here, and at 12 meters, so that early like close range area, if you're using this as an aggressive rifle, which this is really built to be, you're looking at a 255 millisecond TTK, which is blowing every other rifle out of the water. This thing just fries in the close range. So initially here, I'm going for the 7 milliwatt laser. This is going to help out the ADS and the sprint to fire and obviously make this even more aggressive. We're focusing on making this a nice hybrid AR SMG style build. I got the Vorpal barrel on here as well. This is extending the damage range, including that first damage range, but also helps out the movement speed and the ADS speed, which is pretty solid. I go for the flash hider here, just some basic recoil control. When you do focus on mobility, you do lose some control, so this basically just gains that back, so that's nice and convenient there. We're getting like a 13% increase across the board with that. I also go for the angled underbarrel here. This is going to help out with some gun kick control and some horizontal control. This is if obviously you want to focus on the recoil some. That said, you could also, go for a more mobile underbarrel like the DR6 hand stop. Not going to do much for you in terms of recoil, but it's going to help out that mobility even more. So if you want control, you could go for something like angled. If you want mobility, go for something like the hand stop, or even, the phantom hand stop is not too bad either. You'll get some ADS speed and some sprint to fire in some control as well. So you certainly got options there. And then again, with the last attachment here, I like the Ravage 10 stock, better sprint speed and ADS speed for this particular build. There's also some good rear grips. The D37 is great for recoil control. If you don't love the irons, you could go for an optic. You can sort of mess around with that last one, but the Chimera is surprisingly good here in MW3 and definitely a top TTK option. Now, the MTZ-556, especially because of some of the slight meta changes that we've seen recently, has really risen in rank, and its stats sort of speak for themselves. This is a fast fire rate aggressive rifle, and it's extremely versatile. You could build this to be like an AR SMG hybrid similar to the Chimera. You could also build it like this, which is meant more for mid and long range, because if you're fighting at 51 meters with this thing, you're looking at a 450 millisecond TTK, which by comparison is basically best in class for the MW3 rifles. Definitely a standout here in general. So initially here, as far as the optic goes, slate reflector is always a great choice in my opinion. Your basic blue dot essentially. I like the MK3 reflector as well for an ELO sight. Really, optics though are all about your level of comfortability with any given sight, so use the one you enjoy the most. Olay laser just to keep some snappiness and some aggressiveness on the setup with the ADS and the sprint to fire benefits there. I go for the Drifter heavy long barrel, helps out with control, velocity, and range. Obviously going to make it even more effective at 51 meters where it's going to be frying everything as is. And because the faster fire rate here, if you can get some added control, that's definitely going to be clutch. And that's why I go for the flash hider yet again. And in this case, I go for the choke angled underbarrel because this will help out with horizontal control. It hurts your vertical a little bit, but we already gained that back with the barrel and the muzzle. And horizontal is obviously a much bigger priority for any weapons that have side-to-side bounce. With the fire rate here, there's definitely some of that's noticeable. So that definitely helps counter that and sort of attack that, making this a much easier weapon to use. And because of that, you're going to be way more successful in game essentially. Now, the Bruen is back, and it is absolutely frying here in MW3 multiplayer as well. Obviously, being that it's an LMG, you're only focusing on mid to long range builds with this essentially, but at 41 meters, that nice sort of mid-range area there, you're looking at a 368 millisecond TTK. There's essentially no severe or no harsh damage drop off with this. It's sort of continuous over time with the combination shots factored in from True Game Data. So you get a really fast TTK here if you are accurate, and quite frankly, it's not a super difficult weapon to use. It's just slow and heavy, as is every LMG in the game basically. So here I got the MK3 reflector, as mentioned, big fan of this one in general. I've got the iron bar stock for better strafe speed and sprint speed. It's only hurting idle sway, which is not really a huge deal because there's not a ton of this on MW3 guns as is. The 7mm laser, sort of a go-to for any aggressive setup. This in the Olay, you can sort of flip back and forth depending on what's available on the gun. It just keeps things snappy and aggressive, and you love to get that here since obviously being an LMG, its base stats are not great for that. Horizon barrel helps out with velocity and gun kick control and recoil. It's not going to kill your movement speed though, which is nice because obviously it's already so bad. You try not to hurt it anymore if you don't have to. And then I also go for the choke angled grip yet again. We are getting some mobility benefits out of that, which is nice to see alongside that better horizontal control, which is a big factor as previously mentioned. So definitely nice to have the Bruen back in the meta conversations here. Hopefully this stays true for Warzone as well, sort of throw it back to MW 2019. Now this shouldn't really come as a surprise to anyone, but the Bas-B, this thing's dominating right now. Maybe is the best gun in the game depending on who you ask, and the stats sort of back that up. We're looking at a 308 millisecond TTK at 30 meters. So prime mid-range, perfect for a battle rifle. Going into the long range, it's also super competitive there as well. You really just have to get used to the recoil pattern here and you are set, you're good to go. You're gonna absolutely fry. So here again, MK3 reflector, no surprises, no changes there. Because 20 is the default mag here, I don't love that. I do upgrade to a 30 round mag. That's not mandatory, but you're probably gonna realize that it's super helpful and sort of a safety net here, especially as you are getting used to the recoil control. Choke angled grip yet again, same deal as before there. The SA leveler here mainly focuses on horizontal control. You're getting a 23% increase there, but then you also get 10% vertical as well, which is a nice added bonus. So overall, just making this gun a lot more predictable and easy to use. Then I go for the Venom long barrel here. This will help out velocity and range and control, and overall it's that like 3-in-1 combo, basically similar to a lot of those mid to long range barrels that we're probably running for Warzone as well. Gets the job done here in multiplayer, basically making this the most lethal long range or mid to long range weapon in the entire game. It was dominant in the beta once they fixed the hit reg issue with it, and it's even more dominant here in the full game. And then to follow up the Bas-B, we've got the Bas-P, which is also surprisingly good for the close range. Obviously it's an SMG, but it's really good in close range and almost even some mid range as well, as it's sort of been since it was introduced back in MW2 and Warzone. This is looking at a 307 millisecond TTK at 18 meters, which is incredibly impressive for the SMGs. You stack this up against MW3 subs and MW2 subs, and it's basically best in class. Also not too crazy difficult to use. Its recoil is pretty straightforward. Decent iron sights as well if you can get used to them. So it's getting the job done. It's checking all the right boxes. Here we do go for the angled grip yet again to focus on that horizontal control, make it easier to use in general. But once more, if you want better mobility, you could always go for a hand stop or, you know, a phantom, whatever the case may be there. I like hollow points in this game a lot, especially with movement. This is such a clutch ammo upgrade, especially if you're not looking to use an optic or, you know, a barrel. In this case, I don't really love any of these in particular for the Bas-P muzzles. You could always go for a flash hide or some kind of compensator there if you wanted to, but like I said, I find it pretty easy to use. So hollow point to stop enemies from sprinting when movement is such a heavy factor, very convenient. 7mm laser, snap your ADS and sprint to fire. The Flash V4 stock helps out your sprint speed, your strafe speed, and your ADS speed. And I also go for the D37 grip here. Only hurts your idle sway while giving you better control. That's not a huge deal whatsoever for close range fights. So it'll just allow you to stay on target easier in general with that. Another surprising choice here, but statistically, it is very, very good. And that being said, those are 5 of the best TTK options here in MW3 multiplayer right now. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It would be really appreciated. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee that every single day you're up to date with all things going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.